let me guess, you got a new Cricut machine. Whether you got it for Christmas or you just decided you were finally going to get your own Cricut machine, you did it. But now that you have your Cricut, have you opened up the box? Have you made anything? If you're a little lost and not sure where to start with your Cricut machine, I am here to help, and that's what today's video is all about.
It all just goes away. The things I plan to say, oh baby.
Hello, happy crafters. I'm Lisa, the DIY Diva, and I want to help you get started with your Cricut machine. Now, it doesn't matter if you have the Cricut Explorer, Explorer 2, Explorer 3, or the Maker or the Maker 3. Pretty much the setup instructions for them are all the same. All you have to do is open up the box and follow the setup instructions that are included. It's very easy. Just follow the quick setup guide and I promise it is super easy to get started. Now, once you've taken your Cricut machine out of the box and you found all the cords and figured out where the cords go, the next step is you're going to get onto your computer and you're going to go to cricut.com/setup. And there you'll be able to download a program called Cricut Design Space. Once you have the program downloaded to your computer, just follow the prompts and it will walk you through the entire process. It is very simple to get started. And depending on the type of machine that you have, you might be able to set up using a Bluetooth connection or a wireless connection, or you can just use the cables that have been included in your box. And once your machine is registered with Cricut, that's it. You are ready to get crafting. Now, if you get your Cricut machine brand new, inside that box, you're going to have the quick setup guide, and you're also going to get some materials so that you can do your first couple of crafts. And for your first cut, I would encourage you, go ahead and do the little setup thing and do the card that they give you. It gives you a good idea of how this machine works. But once you get past that very initial project, you might be like, okay, now what do I do? Let me show you how easy it is to use the machine with a few projects that are easy to do and so rewarding. And for the first project I wanted to show you something really easy and fun. I'm going to show you how easy it is to add a vinyl saying to a mug. Now, this mug isn't anything fancy. I got this at Dollar Tree. They have lots of different mugs to choose from, and these are fine to use for regular vinyl. Now, if you're going to be doing sublimation or something like that, you don't want to use Dollar Tree mugs, but that is a topic for an entirely different video. So today I'm just going to show you how to add a vinyl saying to this mug. Now, let me give you some tips for your first project. First, you want to choose a single color design. Second, it's going to be the easiest if you find a Design Space image. And Design Space does have some free images that you can use, but if you sign up for their membership, then I think I can't even remember, I think it's $9.99 a month. Then you get what's called Cricut Access, and you get access to a lot of images. I can't even tell you how many images. So to me, it's worth it to sign up for the Access membership because of all of the different images that I'm able to find in the Design Space library. Now, another tip is you want to choose a blank with a flat surface. So for example, this mug has ridges at the top, but the rest of the mug is flat. So this is a good surface to do a project on. And you heard me call it a blank. Basically, anything that you're going to be putting an image onto or transferring vinyl onto is considered a blank. And my fourth and final tip for you getting started is to choose a simple design. If you choose a design that's really intricate, it can be really discouraging and it's a lot harder. So if you choose a simple design to cut out with your Cricut, you're going to be much happier with your results. Now, to find the images, we're going to go into Cricut Design Space and we're going to go to the upper right hand corner and click the new project icon. Then we're going to click on the image icon that's on the left hand side of the screen. Now, this will bring you to the Cricut library. And Cricut has thousands of images in their library. Some of them are free and some you need to pay for. Or like I said, you can subscribe to Cricut Access, which is a monthly subscription. And it gives you access to a lot more images. Okay, so now that we are in the image area, you can use the search bar to specify what you are looking for. So I found this image. It is a part of the Access subscription, but just play around and find an image that you like and get ready to cut it out. So once you find the image that you like, you click on the image, and then once it's highlighted, Then if you go down to the bottom corner, you will see Add to Canvas or Insert Image at the bottom right. When you click Insert Image, it will take you back to your project and the image will automatically be there. Now, if you would like to size your image, you can go to the left side of the screen and click on the templates. So if you wanted to do a t-shirt or an apron or something like that, that's where you're going to find different templates. But it's been my experience, if I just measure whatever blank it is that I'm using and I size my image to that blank, it works just as well. It was also interesting that when I went into the template section, they didn't have coffee cups or mugs. To me, that seems pretty straightforward that they would want to have the mug image in there that you could use as a template, just because it's a pretty simple project to get started with. Okay, back to resizing our image. Now you can resize your image to fit whatever it is that you are going to be putting your design onto. If you need to resize both the height and the width, you can grab the corner of the image and you will see the size of your design change. Now, as you see the size of your design change, you will also see the width and the height. That will change as well. And if you go to the top where it has the height and the width, I think it's the height and the width or the height and the length, you'll also see that there is a little lock, a little padlock. If you click that padlock, that will let you really manipulate the image itself, and you can make it taller and skinnier or shorter and fatter. Otherwise, if that lock is locked, it's going to keep the dimensions exactly the same. I like to unlock that button and kind of play around with the image to really make it a more personalized image for whatever it is I'm working on. And you can check the size of your design, like I said, by measuring your blank. You can also take your blank and hold it up to the cutting mat. The cutting mat is what you will be putting the vinyl onto to put into your cutting machine. Now, when you are happy with the size of your design, go ahead and turn on your Cricut machine. If this is the first time you're using your machine, don't worry. The machine already has the cutting blade inserted and it's ready to use. And you can see that there are two openings on this machine. There's an A and a B, and the cutting blade goes into the B little compartment. Now for my project, I'm going to be using permanent vinyl, and I actually found this vinyl on Amazon. There's a lot of different bundles and packs that you can get on Amazon, and I like this vinyl because it's already pre-measured 12 by 12 inches. So it's 1 foot by 1 foot square, which fits perfectly onto the cutting mat. And I find that the vinyl or the heat transfer vinyl that I get on Amazon is really good quality. I think I actually like it better than the Cricut products. I've had more issues with the Cricut branded vinyl and different things that you're using for these projects than I have with sellers on Amazon. It's also a lot more affordable. All right, so now we're going to go back into Design Space, and we are going to click the button Make It. Now you'll see how your design is going to be cut onto the vinyl. So at this point, this would be a really good time to go ahead and put your vinyl onto your cutting mat. So for the cutting mat, you're going to remove that protective surface. It's clear. Set that off to the side, but don't lose it. That's what's going to help keep your cutting mat sticky. So we're going to take off that top protective layer off the cutting mat, and we're going to take our vinyl and we're going to put that onto the mat. Now when you're putting your vinyl onto the mat, you want to make sure that you are putting the vinyl side up and the carrier sheet on the bottom. Sometimes what I will do is actually kind of peel apart the vinyl and the carrier sheet just to make sure that the vinyl is on the top. I have in the past, unfortunately, done the opposite, and I've ended up cutting my carrier sheet and not my vinyl. So then the whole sheet of vinyl is worthless and I have to start over. So I think it's better to err on the side of caution and just check, make sure your vinyl is on the top and the carrier sheet is on the bottom. And then go ahead and apply that to your cutting mat. So now that we've got the vinyl onto the mat, now I'm going to go back into Design Space, and I've already clicked Make It, so now I'm going to hit Continue. Now on my Design Space, because I have a Cricut Maker, it will generate what settings I can use for my projects. So for example, for this one, I'm just using regular vinyl, so I'm going to click the vinyl. And I can also choose how much pressure I want from the cutting blade. Then if I go to my machine, the load button is going to be blinking. I set the mat onto my machine and I have it to go through the little tabs and then press the blinking load button. What'll happen is the machine will automatically grab the mat and load it into the Cricut. Once the mat is loaded, the C or the Cricut button will start to blink. Now once you press that button, that's when it's going to start cutting out your design. And what's really fun is you can see the process of your cut in Design Space as the machine is cutting. So for example, if it's 50% done, it'll show you 50%, and you can actually watch the progress of the cut. Now once your design is all finished, the load button will begin to blink again. You press it and then you can remove the mat. Then you go back into Design Space and click Done. Next, we're going to remove the vinyl from the mat. To prevent the vinyl from curling, if you flip your mat over to remove the vinyl, that prevents the vinyl from rolling up on itself. Once you've removed the vinyl, place the clear protective sheet back onto your cutting mat before moving on to the next step. Now you're going to do what's called weeding your design, which is removing all of the excess vinyl from the vinyl that you're going to be using for your project. You can do this with your fingers, or you can use a weeding tool, which helps to get all of the excess vinyl and small little bits of vinyl away from your design. I prefer to use the weeding tool because it just makes it a lot faster. Now, a lot of times the tools are extra. You have to buy them individually. But again, if you go on Amazon and you buy a kit, a lot of times they will have different tools included in your vinyl kit. You can also go to Dollar Tree because they actually carry a few different types of tools for cutting machines. And like I said before, you don't have to use the Cricut branded tools or even the cutting mats. The less expensive versions work exactly the same. In some instances, I found they work better. Now, when you're working with your design, be sure to remove all of the excess vinyl. Make sure to pay extra attention inside of the letters like O's, A's, and E's. You don't want to leave the interior portion of an O, an A, or an E, because once you put it onto your blank, it's there. You're pretty much done. Now, once you're all done, your design will look like this. It's going to have the backing behind it, that's the carrier sheet, and all of your vinyl design is ready to be transferred. Which leads me to the next step, and you're going to do what's called transferring. You're going to use transfer tape, and this is what will transfer your design perfectly onto your mug. It's going to keep all of your letters in the right spots and all of the tiny little parts of your designs in the right place. So you cut a piece of the transfer tape that's the same size as your design. Then you can smooth it onto your design with a tool called a scraper, or you can even use a credit card. Now you want to take your mug and wipe it with an alcohol swab or degreasing cleaner to make sure that the surface is very clean and ready to go. If there's any type of residue on the mug, the vinyl may not transfer. Next, you're going to take your design that you made and you will remove the transfer tape. Then take your design that you made and put it onto your mug, and you're going to remove the transfer tape. So you're going to carefully place your design on the mug. You want to be careful not to touch the back of the vinyl as you're applying it to the mug. And once you have the vinyl on the mug, smooth everything into place. You can use the scraper tool to make sure it's adhered well. Then finally, you're going to remove the transfer tape. Starting at the corner is the easiest I have found. And that's it. Your mug is all done. Now this is the time for you to take a look at your mug and your accomplishment. Look what you did. That's great. Now think about all of the mugs that you're going to design. Now for this next project, this is really fun. I'm going to show you how easy it is to design something to go on a t-shirt. And for this project, we're going to be using HTV, which stands for Heat Transfer Vinyl. Now, heat transfer vinyl is different than the permanent vinyl that we used on the coffee mug. So make sure before you start doing this project that you have HTV or heat transfer vinyl. Now, the HTV that I'm going to be using for my projects came from a company called Go To Craft, and they reached out to me and asked if I would like to try out some of their HTV and see how it works. And I have to tell you, the product is really great. It weeds very easily, it transfers easily, and it stays in place. So this is why I like to look at alternatives to the Cricut branded supplies that you'll use for your Cricut machine, because you can get some really great materials and even tools from different companies. So I will leave a link in the description box below that will take you to Go To Craft on Amazon, and you can check them out for yourself. but the kit that they sent me is incredible. It has so much vinyl. I think there's like 70 sheets of HTV, and then there's also some specialty HTV, so some glitter and some different patterns, which makes it really fun to use with a Cricut machine. So for the first design, I'm going to be using a font that I have on my computer. So if you're in Cricut Design Space, you'll see the different fonts. So you have the Cricut fonts, but then you also have the system fonts. Now this font that I have is actually on my computer, so that is under the system fonts. So any fonts that you have on your computer, you can actually use in Cricut Design Space. Now I'm going to be using a font called Playfair Display, which I found online. Now to create the text, all you have to do is click the text tool on the left-hand side in Design Space, and you can write whatever you like. When you click that text box, it will come up text. And if you click off of that, then you can resize it. But if you click into the text box, then you can write whatever word you want to write. And you can resize it using the arrows on the bottom of your lettering, or you can use the top measurements, which allow you to change the size of your font, change the spacing of your letters, the line spacing if you have multiple lines of text, and the alignment. You can even add a curve or a warp to your text if you wanted to. It's very easy. And if you decide that you don't like that curve, the warp, whatever you just did, you can just click the back arrow and it will undo that action that you did in Design Space. Talk about easy. Now for my design, I'm going to make it about 9.5 inches wide, which is about as wide as I want it to be on my t-shirt. Now when I click Make It, you'll see how it's going to look on the mat. So that's going to give you a basic idea of how big the text is going to be. So if you wanted to resize it, you can actually move it around on the mat itself, or you can cancel it and go back into your canvas on Design Space, and then you can change the size. Now the one really important thing to remember when you're using HTV or heat transfer vinyl is when you are doing the image in Design Space, when you click Make It, you want to make sure that you click the mirror button on the side. The mirror button will actually reverse your text or your image, whatever you're working with, so that when you put it onto your t-shirt or whatever blank you're using, the image will come out the correct way. If you forget to do the mirror, it's going to be backwards on your t-shirt, which is never a good thing. So now we're ready to make our project. Make sure to put the shiny side down of your HTV. The shiny side is the carrier sheet. Now if you aren't sure if you have the shiny side down, you can peel a little bit from the corner just to double check. And if you're not sure, I would highly encourage you to double check because you don't want to cut into the carrier sheet instead of the vinyl. Now, once we've got everything set up, I'm going to load the material into the machine and follow the prompts from Design Space. And once everything is finished, you remove the heat transfer vinyl from the mat, and you can cut off any excess and save this for other projects. There are lots of projects that you can do with little tiny pieces of vinyl, so definitely keep the smaller pieces for projects that you may come up with in the future. Now once I have my HTV removed from the machine, I'm going to weed all of the excess vinyl the same way that I did with the permanent vinyl, like I did in the first project. Now that my design is all weeded, now it's time to get my t-shirt ready. And I have an HTVRont auto heat press, which makes it really easy to press my designs. You can also use an easy press, which works well too, but the automatic heat press really makes the pressing easy. And if you're curious about the auto heat presses, I did make a video showing the HTVRont auto heat press. I think it would be really helpful for you to watch once you get to that point. But if you don't have a automatic heat press or the easy press, you can use an iron too, especially when you're just getting started. So on my heat press, I'm going to set my time and temperature, and I'm going to preheat the t-shirt first for 15 seconds. So before I even put the vinyl in place, I'm actually going to heat up the t-shirt. Once that t-shirt has been preheated, then I'm going to position my design onto the t-shirt. And this is a really important step. I'm going to cover the design with a Teflon sheet. Now this protects the vinyl. Then I just press the go button and the heat press does all of the work for me. The vinyl that I'm using is a cool peel. So that means once I'm done pressing the vinyl onto the t-shirt, I let the t-shirt cool, and then I carefully remove the backing or the carrier sheet, and I get a perfect transfer. Then I'm gonna press my shirt one more time for about 15 to 20 seconds just to make sure that my vinyl is secured to the t-shirt. So how was that for easy? That was fun, wasn't it? All right, so that was just one color. Now let me show you how easy it is to do a multiple color transfer. So I made this design in Design Space for my son, and it's pretty easy because it only has 2 colors. But all I had to do was put the one color down first, that's the white one. Then once I allowed that to cool and I removed the carrier sheet, then I got the other color that I had set up already, which is the red, and I put that into place. Next, I put the Teflon sheet over top to protect all of the vinyl and pressed it again. After it was cool, I removed that, and I have a really cool t-shirt for my son. Now, I hope you found this tutorial helpful in getting you started using your Cricut machine. There are so many other videos out there that show you exactly how to use the Cricut and how you can get pretty fancy with it. I just wanted to show you how simple it is to experiment and play around. Just get into Design Space and see what you can find. The biggest thing is actually getting your machine out of the box, setting it up, and using it. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more DIY and decor ideas on a budget. So until the next video, enjoy using your Cricut and have fun!